Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news discussion and, of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm your writer.
Also joining us is Evgeni.
Hi, I'm Argent, and today we are sipping on a premium Maker's Mark, not sponsored, cask strength
Sponsor us.
bourbon. Very delicious.
And they sponsor us. They should just send us all some
Maker's Mark. If you just sponsor us, that's fine. I will shill the creme out of your product.
I looked to see what getting a Dr. Pepper sponsorship would be, and that was too difficult. So, yeah, they don't do that for podcasts. Also joining us is Jessie. Hi.
Hello, I am LadyLameness.
And also joining us is from the planet ReDawn is Marvin.
Hi, non je Paleo and you UrDail.
I'm
Paleo, hi.
my translation pin appears malfunction.
Yes, indeed. And I am Chaos, and we are talking about ReDawn, the newest Skyward Flight novella that came out at the end of October. We're going to do another mini-sode like we did for Sunreach. We will do a bit of a beefier episode after Evershore, talking about all the novellas as a whole. So, spoilers for all of Cytoverse. So, Skyward, Starsight, Sunreach, Defending Elysium, probably, maybe. All the things.
100% yes.
Yes.
Huh, okay.
Well, let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's start with some spoiler-free reactions before we, go into, super spoilery things. What did you all think? Yes?
I'd switch back to being human. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, hey. Wow. Welcome back. Yeah, I think your hologram's malfunctioning there. So, what did you guys think?
I liked it. I thought it was a good book.
I enjoyed Sunreach. This was way better.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed there.
Agreed. For sure.
I actually liked Sunreach more, but that's just because I'm a very relationship and character reader. So I really like the stuff in Sunreach. I do really like ReDawn as well. It is very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like the FM and Rig stuff carried it for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe David, our own Windrunner, is also in a similar boat where he liked Sunreach better than ReDawn. Although I don't recall him having like any major issues with ReDawn or anything. It's just they're different kinds of stories, and they're naturally going to appeal more or less to different people.
It's definitely much more
I don't think there's anything wrong with ReDawn at all. Like, I still think it's a fantastic book. It's much more political intrigue than Sunreach was.
And action-y.
And for me, it's like Cytonics is a major thing of the book that I like. And so Sunreach, the main character isn't Cytonic.
Right.
So it's
And
only so much she can do.
Yeah. We get to see a competent Cytonic as well in ReDawn. So
who's
that's
actually trained.
Nice see the magic. It's basically magic. See it explored a little more in that direction. Yeah, without like having somebody fumble around with it. Without knowing
which has been everything else that we've learned about Cytonics is like, hey, we're fumbling a lot.
For me, I think ReDawn was... I liked ReDawn a lot more because... So listening to you, it's interesting because normally I don't like political intrigue in my stories, and I don't like action in my stories. And in spite of these things, I think the world building was so interesting to me. Like, I am a sucker for like alien cultures and foreign cultures, and just ReDawn and the UrDail and Alanik specifically made it so much more interesting to me than anything in Sunreach, that while I enjoyed Sunreach, ReDawn just stole the show for me.
I think the world building was actually one of the things that I wasn't super interested in ReDawn. Yes. I think also the fact that we were like, we were in Alanik's head, but she's not a character we really knew much about up till this point. So I wasn't particularly interested in being in her head at the very beginning. So these two things are probably why I didn't like ReDawn as much. But yeah, the world building it was good. It was good. It just didn't quite pull me in the way I think it pulled you in.
Yeah, I mean the fact that it's a gas giant with these
miasma and the trees cleansing the miasma is pretty tight.
I don't understand how it happened. Like, it's cool.
Look,
I don't think too hard about it.
I have come to the conclusion, looking at Discord conversations and stuff, that this is not at all a hard SF setting, and we're just doing cool space things because they're cool.
No, it's fantasy in space.
Yeah, it's fantasy in space.
Even if we take for granted that, like, okay, there are these trees, then you could ask, but how can they grow to 50 kilometers tall? And it's just like, and you will never
off the
end
gas
asking
or
questions.
something. I don't know.
Mhm.
Sure.
Just accept it as looking super cool and be done with it.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's been discussion on the Discord about the structure of the trees and how they could even function. And then there's the other side of people who are like, guys, just don't think about it too hard. Just accept
not the
it,
purpose
okay?
of
Science trees, okay?
Yeah.
Floating trees.
They're meant to be cool. They're not meant to be realistic.
Weird alien things. Whoa, cool. Yeah, like that's what it's supposed to be. Wait, I mean, it's fine if you do think about those things, but it's gotten more and more apparent the further we got in Skyward that it's like, no, this is just fantasy in space with using like some
It's just like
elements.
Like, I wouldn't bat an eye at this, like, if it was in the Cosmere.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh yeah, sure.
But it's like, it's supposed to be our universe, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
how?
Yeah.
There's like,
See, that's interesting, because if this were in the Cosmere, I would be like, wait a moment, how does that work?
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I
Because
would
there are
be a lot more
it's
critical.
intelligently designed. I'm like,
Yeah. I also would be more critical if this is in the Cosmere about how things work, whereas it being outside, I'm like, yeah, okay. It's fine.
This is just where Brandon's doing cool things. And like Jancy's talked about on the stream Jancy and Brandon did, where Jancy's just like, I need an idea to make a thing cool with like the end of Sunreach, and Brandon's like, have a giant space monster. It's like, okay, cool. Great. And so I feel like this is one of those Brandon world building things where it's just, whoa, look how crazy this planet is. And Jancy's like, great, love it. Let's put it in. We don't need to think too hard about this. It just looks cool. And it does. It is really cool. Do we have any other spoiler-free thoughts, or should we go right into spoileries?
I'd say let's get into spoilers.
Let's go into spoilers.
Yep.
Damn, I really enjoyed ReDawn, just from beginning to end. Just really tight story. Like there's like no fluff in this at all, which I really enjoyed. And it's like, yeah, we're going to protect the UrDail and rescue, the Independence leader. And I loved Alanik and Skyward Flight's interactions. I thought that was really well done. I especially loved Alanik and Arturo interacting because they're like, can I trust you? And Alanik's like, I don't know, can I trust you? I was like, oh yeah, that was really good. And just, it felt very natural. That was like, oh, well, we're like, kind of allies, but like, I don't know, this can be considered a bit sketchy as well, right?
And I agree, there was a lot of good action as well in this book, and like as you said, it felt really tight with how it flowed. But one of my favorite scenes definitely was not one of the actiony ones, but the one where they talked about relationships and like
where
Alanik was telling them how like their mate pairs or whatever they call it work, and like how all the humans are just totally embarrassed to talk about relationships and stuff like that. And Alanik is like, well, are you? Why is it a taboo in your culture? So whatever, and like. Yeah, that was really great.
Yeah,
I love Culture Clash.
Oh yeah, it is really fun.
It is so much fun.
Yep.
This book reminds me a lot of Fury Road it feels like one giant long action sequence with like little pockets of a breather. But it feels like non-stop action from beginning to
Kind
end.
of does, yeah.
And like that's pretty cool. Like I think that was done really well because that can be exhausting. And I think the small points where we do get a breather gave enough to allow it to be almost a giant action sequence from the start to the end of the book. And Fury Road, I think, does exactly the same thing.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, because it really is like we're either doing action things or we're having a short character development scene where we're interacting and things. And like there's obviously a lot of banter also as, you know, we're doing the action as well. And so it I don't know, it felt really good to me to read. Like, I
really like Brandon's like I don't think team dynamics is the correct phrase here, but like situations where he has a tight-knit group of friends or people who work together and they're just bantering, right? We might do spoilers for the Cosmere, but I'll try to avoid it when I can.
Yeah, that'd probably be good. Yeah,
the crew, Stormlight, Bridge 4, and now we see this in Skyward Flight.
I don't think those are spoilers. Brandon likes the team dynamics.
I'm avoiding going in more depth.
We're not talking about the space whales.
No, not this time. Although space starfish
could exist in Cytoverse.
But we see this with Skyward Flight here, and it was a lot of fun, right? It's just all of them taking jabs at each other, but it's all friendly most of the time until somebody tells you you're not their flight leader anymore.
Ooh, that was a good dramatic moment too. Like that was they definitely. It's not all lighthearted banter. Like that was definitely stuff there.
I love that scene so much because it shows you that while, I mean, I love it for many reasons, but one of them is while they're all working towards the same general goal, they all have different priorities. Like for FM, she cares about these these almost sapient animals that they are working with. And so the disregard that she sees or thinks she sees in Jorgen's commands, that's a real conflict for her. And that comes to a peak in that scene, and it's delicious character conflict, and I love it.
It's been building as well since last book, because Jorgen was like this last book as well, and FM kind of like gradually came into the role of, no, you're not going to harm these slugs to be able to achieve your goal. That is not something I will allow. So seeing that progression from like the start of Sunreach when they first find all the slugs and started all till now has been really great.
It is interesting that scene happened when we weren't in either one of their heads. We were in Alanik, the outsider perspective.
Yeah. It really worked for me. Like I
did too.
Yeah. Another top moment for me was them getting onto the Wandering Leaf platform, putting Boomslug in it, and just wrecking. Oh man, that was so cool. Or just them like just bringing the slugs and activating Wandering Leaf. It's like, yeah, we have just like a giant battleship essentially. If it's just a giant platform, like have fun with that. Oh boy.
Something that I've loved that has been building this entire like since the start of Skyward is the fact that the slugs matter. Because in Skyward, it just seems like Spencer's got the sidekick pet, but they are so important for later on. And I love how that's been incorporated, and it wasn't just the animal sidekick. There is important plot and ways forward with these slugs, and we're really seeing that now.
And thinking about how the story developed between Skyward, Starsight, and now these novellas, we start off Skyward with just Spencer finding this weird thing that sometimes mimics voices, and then in Starsight we learn that the Tanix are a species that may have something to do with like cytonic stuff. I don't remember how much we learn in there, but there was a
just
scene.
hyperdrives.
Yeah, they just have the
Maybe it was
hyperdrive.
just hyperdrives, yeah. But we learned that the superiority has been suppressing knowledge of these things and encouraging people to avoid them if they find them in the wild, and to like report them so they can come in and scoop them up and stuff like that. And now, and now we find even more that they're not only critical to hyperdrive technology, but also all sorts of cytonic abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that come up in this book that plays off of that with the superiority is when the National Assembly is looking to make the deal, the superiority is saying, well, you need to give us your slugs. And I love how Alanik points out, it's like, if you do that, you lose all of your freedom because you no longer have the ability to move around in the universe. You are stuck unless you do exactly as they say. And that's what happened to us. So don't make the same mistake as us.
Yep.
Yeah, because you might be free, but if you can't do anything,
then you're
that
just in
freedom
a
is
different
pointless.
prison. Yeah.
The other thing with Wandering Leaf that I really liked was when, they're going to shoot the giant death ray at our planet, and they just like, nope, not going to block that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that they just put a battleship in there. Like that's the superiority's solution is we'll just put a battleship in the atmosphere and say, screw you to this entire planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Allah couldn't be here. Rasar, she's busy this weekend, but we wanted to get this episode out as fast as we could after ReDawn came out. But yeah, so the peace negotiations did not go well in ReDawn as it happened. So sorry, Allah, that did not go well. Yeah.
I do want to mention something else that I like a lot while we are kind of vaguely on the subject of Wandering Leaf, and that is the confrontation between Arturo and Alanik.
Yes.
When he essentially goes there and like, okay, I'm watching it.
I'm watching you. Yeah.
Yeah. I have discovered with this book, with this story, that I am a sucker for character archetypes that are like second in command type of stuff, first advisor type of stuff, where they go behind the back of the person they're supposed to be serving or advising, and like they do chaotic good things for the genuine good of all. But you're like, this person doesn't need to worry about the things that I'm doing, but I will still help from the shadows.
Yeah, that is always fun. It's like they don't need the extra stress of what I'm doing. I'm just taking things off their plate, doing stuff. Works out fine.
Quietly on the down low.
Yep. One other thing that like near the beginning that I really liked was just Cobb giving Jorgen orders to not go to ReDawn.
Not orders.
Not orders.
Yeah.
And just how Jorgen's dealing with this, and it just like took him too long. It's like, oh, I get it.
That boy can be thick sometimes.
It was
that was a hilarious scene.
So hilarious. Because, and I think Jancy or Brandon, but probably Jancy, tackled this so well. It was just Jorgen went for so long. Just I understand that you were not ordering us to do that. We will not do that. and
I was just like, oh my god, just can you get it already?
And you can see Cobb getting frustrated. and I think FM and somebody else, maybe Alanik, were also in the room, and they're also like, no.
Jorgen.
I think
everyone else has got it.
I loved it so much.
That's so good.
Just pure comedy.
Yes.
We should mention that most of the underlying writing in this book was done by Jancy, and the revision process was passed back and forward between Brandon and Jancy, but she did pretty much all the writing, and I think that we should acknowledge that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Between Sunreach and this, I am definitely excited to see more Jessie and Brandon collaborations.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd not at all be opposed to getting more like Cytoverse stuff after Cytonic or like after Defined, even where it's just Chansey exploring the universe further and maybe even writing full novels instead of just like novellas like these.
Yeah.
And that I'd be very fine with that.
I definitely have not really noticed a difference reading through the Skyward Starsight into these novellas. They feel so much like they flow together, and even though there is a different author working on them, I think she's slotted in so well with Brandon's writing and just has really picked up on the universe, on the characters, and everything feels so similar and so natural that I just don't notice a lot of the time that I'm reading the writing of a different author, because it's just worked so well. And it does make me more excited for future collaborations as well, because it shows that the collaborations can work, and having other people brought in to work with Brandon, that doesn't lower anything necessarily. Like, this has really worked, I think.
I would argue that it's seamless, but it's also better because it has all of the hallmarks and all of the things that I enjoy in a Brandon solo novel, and it handles character relationships and dynamics better.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah.
Which is something Jancy's very good at. And she is able to fill that void of where, like, it is something that Brandon is not as good with that as he is with plot things and with world building. So she is really able to help boost to that part.
Yep. And Brandon can still contribute. Here's the plot, here's the outline.
Yep.
I will disagree slightly.
Okay. How dare
which
you?
is that I think it blends very well with, but like I can still tell like somebody else wrote this book. It's like every so often I'll come across a sentence and I'm like, that is not a Brandon sentence.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't kick me out or anything. It's just like oh huh, and then I move on because it's like it feels like Brandon.
Yeah.
Stories, the Cytoverse, all of that. The finishing touches every so often are just like, okay, I can tell a new artist is working on this.
We had this conversation in the Sunreach minisode as well, and
I did have it in the Evershore episode.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I didn't notice it at all in Sunreach Reel that it was a different author, but in ReDawn, there was some sort of, I don't want to say tick, but like some structure that repeated throughout the book that felt very unbrand-like, and but it could multiple times. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that was like the only thing where I really noticed, okay, yeah, this isn't Brandon, but it didn't distract or anything from the story or anything like that. So yeah.
And I think I'm having difficulty coming up with an example because overall it does blend so well that it's a moment in the moment I notice like, okay, yeah, Brandon wouldn't have written that sentence the way it's written. I don't care. And so it blends into the background, and it's like,
Yeah, I know there were a few people who, I mean, I know in the Sunreach episode, we were generally very positive. And here, I think we're also very positive. I know there were some people who are like, I don't know if I really like Sunreach. I would hope that they give ReDawn a try, because I do think like ReDawn is firing on all cylinders. And to me, it almost felt more like the blending was even better in ReDawn in a sense than Sunreach. It's hard for me to articulate how I feel that way and disconnect that from my general, wow, this story was really good. Wow, this is great. But I do think it blended really nice. Maybe because like the magic stuff was dealt really well, and the world building, which is, like the common Brandon thing, right?
I think it definitely is, or part of it that is that for one, Chansey probably got into the groove better after completing one whole novella already. Mm-hmm. And it's also not the first one of these. Like it's a sequel. It's a sequel to Sunreach, and it doesn't have to do as much legwork, I feel, to get things going. And true. So, yeah, we are almost used to it. Not used to it yet, but we are more accustomed to it after Sunreach, so that might be part of it at least.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably also that Sunreach was very character and romance based, which again is not really that's not the type of thing that Brandon would write. Whereas this is much more what Brandon would write, with the action-packed, very tightly plotted, like, looking at the magic system. So it might also be a bit of that. Because the last book is much more Jancy style, whereas this is a Brandon book through and through.
Yeah, I mean, Jancy just nailed it. Like it, however their revision process went from going back and forth, like it does just blend so well together. And so kudos to Jancy for writing something killer, and kudos to the revision process to make it feel like I barely notice the difference. Like really well done, I think.
Let's talk about the ending of the book that we haven't touched on yet. Where Wandering Leaf and Jorgen and Alanik and the crew teleport to outside Detritus, where the National Assembly, including Jorgen's parents, have gone to this little space station of the Superiority for peace negotiations. And they're not peace negotiations. No. They're let's completely assassinate the political party of the Defiant people, and also kidnap Cobb and Gran. So Jorgen and Cuna, I kind of forget about Cuna because they don't do anything in this book.
Most people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Alanik and Jorgen go onto the platform, and Alanik is able to save Cuna, and then Gran and Cobb just disappear somewhere else. Gran just teleports them somewhere, and no one quite knows where. And Jorgen attempts to free his parents before the bomb on the ship explodes, and this doesn't happen. So he gets to watch his parents die, and then be in complete shock, and then decide that they have to go back to Platform Prime because he's going to make some heads roll and take control of everything. And wow, that was an ending.
That was an ending.
That was an ending.
It's an ending that makes me very excited that the next novella is from Jorgen.
Oh yeah, that's probably why they saved it for this third one. It's like, but it'd be much more fun if he was like really suffering. It's like, gimme. Yeah, perfect.
Let's get that character conflict going.
Oh my god. Yeah, the ending was so good, and then it's just like, and then we're done. And wow.
I do believe that ending was actually Brandon's idea. I'm thinking. So listeners, if you don't know, Jancy Patterson joined our Discord community around the release of Sunreach, and she's been hanging out there, chatting with people, answering questions whenever she can, sometimes offering insight into the writing process of these things. And I believe she talked briefly about how that ending came to be.
Oh yeah.
And if I recall correctly, it was she was struggling to come up with an ending to ReDawn, and having a conversation with Brandon about it, and Brandon was like, why don't you kill his parents?
It wasn't just why not kill his parents, it's like, why not kill all the political leaders, including his parents?
And she was like,
that's an ending.
Okay.
Kill his parents, and they're like, kill his parents, and then
okay, Sith Lord Brandon. Kill the parents.
Yeah, that is a classic piece of writing advice. It's like, when you don't know what to do, have ninjas attack.
Yeah.
And so it's like, don't know what to do, just kill a bunch of people.
I can totally see why the ending of ReDawn would be a bit like hard to come up with, because like you do kind of solve the issue on ReDawn, and then it's just like, well, where are we going from there? And then we go do this other thing. Now, I thought it turned out really well, because with like Sunreach and, you know, the clash between the military and the political leaders, these peace negotiations were a big thing, right? So it felt very natural that this would happen, and Alanik would just be like, yeah, that's not going to go well. Can't confirm, did not go well. Really did not go good at all.
Yeah. I never thought I would feel sad for Yeshua Wait, who is an awful human being through and through. But yet I cried over her death because Jorgen was so destroyed by it.
Yeah, because didn't she just say, do better than we did?
Yeah, she like mouthed, do better than we did right before she exploded.
Ouch.
It is.
That's good stuff right there.
Because Jorgen tried to tell her it was a trap as well. Like he tried to give her that information, and as she always does, she didn't listen.
Yeah, and it's like, but in that moment, she was like, "I should have listened."
Yes,
yeah. It's like you see that
realization.
She's not a terrible person. Like. And like
she still has a
she's a terrible person. She wasn't an irredeemable person.
Sure.
Yeah.
She has her issues as a person, but like she wasn't 100% a bad person. It's like she was trying to do what she thought was best.
Right. Yes.
Turns out what she thought was best was wrong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's like, but like she does care about her son. Like she's everything she did was like for her son and her people.
Yeah.
She just made some bad choices.
But I don't think it's necessarily a flaw like that. Like she tried to sue for peace. Like,
yeah,
because like that's never a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just superiority wasn't operating in good faith.
No, never. Yeah, right, exactly.
I agree with everything you said. And for me, Yeshua was a problem the moment she just 100% mishandled the initial communication with Alanik back in Sunreach. Like, this was... Obviously, nobody on the Tritus is like a real politician or a real diplomat. They are a community of survivors and fighters for the most part, and even their civilians are, in many cases, people who have gone through the military and then gone back to civic life.
Yeah, right.
So I understand why she might be more terse. She might be less able to communicate and notice nuance, but the magnitude of how much she butchered that situation is just I find it difficult to be okay with her.
I think even with the society they're in, Ironsides back from book 1 would have done a better job than Yeshua did.
Yeah. Cobb, who was in the room, would have done a better job.
Yep.
Oh, no, he wasn't in the room.
Oh, wasn't he?
No, he was in the prison and then got teleported away by Grandad.
No. In Sunreach.
Oh, yes, sorry, you are correct.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if Yeshua was even technically in a position to negotiate anything, because isn't she just the first citizen? Like that's her husband is National Assembly.
Yeah, right.
And she's just technically
she was their
officer,
representative.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, she was sent by them.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, I think a lot of, at least my feelings about her death, very much come from seeing that she did love her son, and she did realize at the very last moment that she should have listened to him. But also, Jorgen loves his mother, and we see it in those final moments that he, like, for all that she is and for all the bad she caused, he loves her so much.
Yeah.
And it destroys him. And he's just in so much shock going back to Wandering Leaf that he's not really functioning, and then just has to put that all aside because that's the situation they're in.
Yeah, I love that last line from Joshua. Also, yeah, I don't know if these should be J's or Y's. Stormlight's all gotten us all confused at this stage. I don't know.
I mean,
whatever.
not only Stormlight, but it's like Jorgen/Jorgen does feel like a dramatic name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, I love that last line, and I love just the pain Jorgen feels. And I just love
make him suffer.
Like, I love it's so good. Just the pain of that loss. Because it's kind of been a while since we've had a big character death that's been really impactful in the series, right? Like, a lot of the deaths, I think, in Skyward. Yeah, right, exactly. Hesho doesn't count. Hesho, that didn't like destroy Spencer. It's like, oh, Hesho's dead. I mean, that
sucks.
Yeah, that didn't matter. But like, this matters a lot, and that's going to have a lot of character implications, and I am in for that. Nice.
The last big death like that was Hal.
Yeah.
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 And I do acknowledge that I'm going to go with Joshua. I feel like that's...
Sure, yeah.
Probably.
It feels better in my mouth.
What if we just flip a coin every time we say her name and just switch it each time?
I mean, like, because
Joshua.
It's one letter off from Joshua.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is why it's like, I thought Joshua was Jorgen's father for the longest time. Filed serial names off of an Earth name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what is his name again?
Algernon.
Yeah.
I do acknowledge that she's not an evil person, but she is very misguided and ill-equipped to do the things that I think she wanted to do. Like, she wasn't thrust in the position that she is in. I think she wanted that position. And one of the reasons I'm annoyed at her is because she wanted that position when she was not equipped to handle that position.
Yeah, that's fair. But what a good cliffhanger ending.
I don't like cliffhangers because I think a lot of people do them very badly. But, and Eric mentioned this before, we tied off the ReDawn stuff. We have completed the arc that was the main drive of this book. And then we had the cliffhanger to tie us to the next one. And I thought that was done brilliantly. That's how I think cliffhangers should be done.
Yeah.
And we weren't left with this gaping hole like we were at the end of Starsight of what's happening next.
Like just
things haven't been resolved. Like, we resolved stuff in this book and then had the cliffhanger. So I just massive kudos to Jancy for actually pulling that off, because I think it is really hard to do.
Yeah, because it deals with ReDawn, but also in the background, there's always been this that we had to deal with this thing, and then it's oh, we did deal with it, and they all died. Oh no!
This is set up for the next book, and that's where this is going through. Yeah. But we've finished this book.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? The Final Empire.
Yeah.
We get almost the same thing. Like, we wrap up the main story that we've been dealing with for the entire book, and then the last few pages are, here's the setup for the next one.
Yeah. God.
Thing with Well of Ascension too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Granted,
the end of Well of Ascension does that.
Yeah.
Well.
And it does do a similar sort of thing of wrapping up the main thing, and then they're oh, there's a twist. Yep. Yeah. So much better than perhaps the worst cliffhanger that's not in Brandon's books, but the worst one that I can just remember is Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug. What a terrible ending of that movie. That is a waste of time, where it's just oh no, come see the next movie where we resolve it. Oh God, frustrating.
It's the exact opposite of the situation.
Yes, exactly.
Where instead of the next book gets a tease at the end of the last one, it's we just overlapped 5 minutes the other way.
Which honestly, I think you could argue Starsight's like that. I think you could kind of argue Starsight's a bit.
I would argue Starsight's like that. I hate the ending of
Let's
Starsight.
go talk about something else.
Yeah, no. It's a good cliffhanger.
I have one more thing about the ending if we're done talking about the cliffhanger.
Yes.
So, for people who don't remember, because this is a tiny thing in the world building of the first book, when they crashed on Detritus, they set up their government effectively, and then the government was bombed with a life buster.
Right.
And it killed all of the upper echelon of the government and politicians and took out a lot of their materials and their history and their documents.
Right.
I don't know if it was deliberate. I feel like it probably wasn't, but I love the parallel with this of taking out the government leaders compared to what happened to them 70 years ago, also by the superiority, and because the superiority would know how much of a devastating effect that would have. And I don't think it was deliberate, but I love that parallel that has come up.
That's good.
That seems to be like the MO of the superiority in a lot of cases, right? They're not a military force. They do have military, right? But the way their preferred way to dealing with problems seems to be go take out their leaders, go take out their politicians. Like they captured and replaced Rinnekin.
They are doing this a lot, aren't they?
The Starsight thing was yes, there was violence involved, but it was a political coup where they wanted to just get rid of Cuna and make sure they're not a problem. So that checks out.
That does. Speaking of the replacement, I love how the holograms in Starsight came in again into effect. And I know they were in Starsight, we were using like M-Bots tech, and the superiority didn't have that, but it's cool that like mattered and was really important to the plot.
Well, that's what they use now.
They have M-Bot now.
Right.
They have M-Bot technology now.
Right. So it's just really interesting to see them use that, and I like that consequence.
So when we first found out like Rinnekin had been replaced, before we knew it was hologram technology, I was reminded of Defending Elysium.
Oh yeah.
Where with the whole body swap thing.
Oh God, yeah.
And I was
that's right.
And so I was very happy that it turned out to be hologram technology, because body swapping, definitely body horror. If you haven't seen our horror episode,
check out the previous episode.
Yep.
So, because we talked a lot about the positives of this book so far, I think I wanted to bring up one negative thing that came to mind when we talked about the ending. One thing that I could drag out from my brain. No. When we talked about the ending, we talked about Cuna and how they didn't really do anything in this book, or they didn't play a huge role. And in my opinion, even sort of they pedaled back on what they were doing before, because they trusted the superiority and were for making peace with them, I think. And I don't really understand why Cuna would behave like this. And just that they didn't do anything at all is also like a minor gripe.
It is pretty strange that Cuna would work with Winzik after everything that's happened. And even if Winzik isn't directly involved, like Winzik's at the top, right? And still going to benefit from all of this. But I also am displeased by how much that Cuna just was in this book to exist and do nothing and just be in the background as a wallflower and just happen to be there.
Yeah.
It does bother me as well.
Yeah. I think that's a function of Brandon and Jancy didn't have anything for them to do, but if they just weren't mentioned, people were like, what's Cuna doing? Just hanging out, apparently. But I don't think it's out of character for Cuna to be pushing for peace with the superiority, because I think Cuna thinks the superiority is good. I agree there, yeah. They think Winzik is a single bad factor, and that if we get peace, we can just remove Winzik we can neutralize Winsick. They don't understand the fundamental issues with the superior.
That's true.
True. Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah,
I am with Ian on this one, and I want to add that Cuna does facilitate a little bit of a function in this book, in that they are somebody who understands a little bit of humans and a little bit of UrDail, and so there is a cultural barrier that they are helping a little, not much, but a little bit, kind of go, hey, human person who is in the room and UrDail person who is in the room, actually the UrDail don't eat that thing that you are eating, so maybe let's feed them some grass.
Yeah,
I don't think they eat grass either, but
algae.
It is just weird to rescue Cuna and then have them not do very much. Like,
I agree.
It feels like set up for later, but it also is dissatisfying to me. And it makes me wonder, like, why couldn't they just rescue Cuna later?
Because we got to have a different thing for Novella 3, clearly.
I guess that does sort of tie back into some problems I had with Sunreach, where like the ending felt quite rushed, or like it was set up as all about saving Cuna, but then it's like one chapter and
right.
And then if we don't really need them in this book, that's like even more pointless in a way that they saved her in Sunreach, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Alanik, and dig into her character. I don't know. It was very interesting seeing her perspective, because we really needed this for a long time. So I'm glad we finally got to see it.
I'm glad we got anything with her, because she really hasn't been much of a character up till now, besides crashing, being in a coma, getting the hell out of Dodge. That's been her character up till now.
I will say, I loved what little of her we got in Sunreach, where, they agree to wake her up, she wakes up, and they're having a conversation, and she seems fine, but like throughout the entire scene, if you look at the scene, she's like taking medical equipment off of her, like she's very purposefully, but very subtly removing all like potential connections she has to, and then Joshua shows up and she's like, nope, I'm out. Like it looks like she was on her way out the entire time, but because FM was nice to her, she was talking with FM, and the moment things were not nice, she was like, okay, nope, peace.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny just how much Yeshua was like, I'm going to interrogate you and keep you captive, and Alanik's just like, no, I can teleport. Bye.
Yeah, need some inhibitors if you want to interrogate a Cytonic.
That's true.
No, I liked her motivations. Like, I thought that made a lot of sense with just how bad things have gotten on ReDawn and how she needed help. And let's go talk with FM. She knows what's up.
I liked how she was both very similar to Spencer in some ways, and also very, very different from Spencer in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I come up with any specifics at the moment? No, but
She's very headstrong. She's kind of a little bit impatient and wants to rush through things in the same way as Spencer, but there's less chaotic energy, I think.
She's more purposeful about it.
She's much more purposeful, and also I think she thinks things through a bit more than Spencer does. But you're totally right. She feels so similar but different to Spencer.
Very proactive is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And something that I really liked about her is when she killed when she did her first kill, how she went into shock then, and basically couldn't take it that she actually killed someone, because at this point we are like so used to people just fighting in their starfighters and killing people with them, because that's what they do, the humans.
We're like the DDF, we're like, oh, someone died, okay then.
Cool.
It's
nice to get the reminder.
To have a character actually react to this very differently.
Especially because like all the UrDail stuff with like oh, the space fighting is kind of a game and not like actually fighting. Because like they don't like the superiority, but they're not at war with the superiority, right?
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about this a little bit because this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire book. And so I think there's a lot of build up to this scene. So there are multiple scenes in which Alanik is either thinking inside her head or speaking with members of Skyward Flight, talking about how, and this harkens back to like the rest of the series, where violence is a human thing for the most part. Species who are not human, really, don't really do violence, especially on that scale. Like, and so yes, their fighting is a sport. They don't really kill each other. Even if somebody's like fighter plane crashes, they don't like fall on the ground. They just float through the miasma, and so usually there is time for other people to like show up and save them. And on top of all of this, we have Alanik's personal kind of trepidations towards actually inflicting harm on other people. Like for her, blowing somebody else's plane is not a big deal because she knows that they will eject and they will live.
Right.
And so all of this comes together and crashes when she actually murders what's his face?
Quillen.
Yeah, let's go with Quillen.
Yeah, because it's interesting because the Quillen didn't like just murder Rinnekin, right? And like didn't just murder. Yeah. So
and that's just reminded me of something like talking about the ejecting if their planes are crashing, because in the DDF, if you eject and you're a cadet, you get kicked out of flight school. And it's looked down on if you ever eject from your plane. And then, of course, we've got the Dai who everyone ejects. Everyone's like, no, I'm going to save my own life, not become a martyr because you expect me to.
It does just show how warped the DDF and just... Because they are very warped by their situation, and that they are just designed to be these fighters in order to survive, right? But it does add to the overall world building. It's like, oh yeah, those bloodthirsty humans, and the humans are like, yeah, we got stuff to do.
My, so violent.
Yeah, right.
And of course, I do love the follow up of, I believe it was Arturo who went and spoke with her, and it was like, yeah, that it doesn't really get any better. It's still. Yeah.
And even if you try and think of it as us versus them and them being the bad guys, it doesn't get better. It doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, that's such a good conversation. Like, the character development is really good there.
Yeah.
And I love with Alanik just her sort of joining Skyward Flight. Like, I dug that. I dug that a lot. And
seeing
Angel.
Her getting frustrated.
I do have to call out something Rissar said in the last episode.
Oh, yeah?
Because she harped on the fact that, like, in Starsight, I believe it was Starsight, like, Spencer described Alanik as looking like a devil.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, Rissar, like, really pinged on that. And, like, and it's like, and then in this book, oh, her call sign is Angel. The dichotomy.
Yeah.
And she did have the conversation with Arturo when he was like, are you a devil or are you an angel?
Yeah. I did find her call sign being Angel a little cringy. I remember reading that. I was like, okay, sure. I don't know. I just found it. There's something about it that I'm just like, did you have to?
We need something with an A.
Yeah, gotta continue the pattern.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the religious connotation to it that they don't seem to have things like Christianity anymore. Like the DDF religion or the Defiant religion is not based on that. So it just felt a little bit too religious, but not in-world religious to me, so it just didn't quite work.
Well, but wouldn't they in the culture that they have? Wouldn't they treat angels in the same way that we, for example, treat, or most of us treat, let's say, like Greek mythological figures?
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
wouldn't
I guess we
Amphi?
don't know that is a thing.
Yeah, that aspect of the Defiant religion is not explored very much.
Yeah.
We know about the saint, and that's about it. So-
Mostly from Kimmelin, really.
I think Spencer says something as well at one point.
Yeah.
Speaking of character development and potential relationships and Skyward Flight, there is the amazing conversation where they're talking about relationships that Marvin mentioned earlier, and it comes out that Arturo broke up with Arturo was broken up with by his girlfriend, and there is a line asking Kimmelin about potential relationships and whether she has a boyfriend. And her response is kind of an awkward, negative, not not wanting to answer the question. And it reads like it has such a overtone of Kimmelin being gay. And I am totally here for Kimmelin being gay. And I loved that little moment because it's like it does have such a queer overtone that comes through in other people's writing as well. So please, Jancy and Brandon, please make Kimmelin gay. Please give her a girlfriend. Please put her and Sadie in a relationship now.
Nice.
Oh, Sadie, interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I figured that unless it's a character that we don't know, which maybe because we didn't know Arturo's girlfriend, the only major character who is also female is Sadie. And the fact that Sadie seemed to have such a crush on Kimmelin beforehand, it's just like,
wait, on
it just
Kimmelin?
works. Yeah, because she was really into Kimmelin's sayings and like became... Like, she would write down Kimmelin's sayings when she said them. Like, she just seemed very in awe of her at the beginning of Starsight. So I read that as crushing now.
I trust Jesh's memory of Skyward Flight knowledge, considering
She was in Starsight?
I completely forgot that
So
none
was
of us were in
Catnip.
Starsight.
So was Catnip
Yeah.
and T-Stall at the beginning of Starsight, and we're like, "What's T-Stall?" Yeah, no,
Really?
they're
I
there.
completely
Yeah.
forgot about them.
Is it Catnip and T-Sol or T-Sol and Catnip?
Yes.
Those were amazing jokes.
I
throughout
love the
entire
line
book.
of Alanik is like, I don't know which
I don't
one's
know which one's which.
So good.
Another favorite thing in the entire book, Alanik's consistent confusion about T-Stall and Catnip.
Oh, it's so good.
It is like every scene, every time one
It's
of them
great.
is mentioned.
We don't know either, really. It's like
T-Stall said, or was it Catnip?
It makes me wonder if they're twins as well. Like identical
Could be.
twins, like Weasley type twins.
I think it would have been mentioned.
yeah,
I think so, but it's just
It's
the
just
way
really
that it
funny.
kept being said.
so
Yeah,
funny.
and
I love it.
part of what makes it so funny is that like she cares enough to wonder if she's getting them wrong, but not enough to actually ask. It's like, I don't care that much.
and honestly, that fits really well because I don't really care about Catnip and T-Stall either. It's just like,
They
Skyward Flight replacements. whatever.
They have such Weasley twins
Yes.
energy.
Yeah.
Spinning off of Kimmelin, like she's gay. Like she's
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because some people were asking Jancy because there were some headcanons that Alanik would also be gay, and Jancy didn't go that direction because she didn't want the first canon queer person in the Cytoverse to be an alien,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is I
Yeah.
totally get.
Yeah.
Which also brings up the discussion of Arturo and Alanik.
I dig that. Like their rapport is. I want to see how that progresses. Like I'm very
I'm feeling
interested.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a shipper. I'm like, I'm feeling this. Like I get this character dynamic. This is good.
I liked their dynamic.
Oh.
I don't want it to be romantic.
Okay.
Like I hated that it was like, oh, it's a female character. We have to find her a man.
Sure,
that was the vibes I was getting, and I'm just like, let the cool alien lady be a cool alien lady. You don't need to set up a potential romantic partner for her.
But she can still be a cool alien lady.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just like I just didn't get romantic vibes from their interactions.
Well, that was
fair.
like me and Spencer Jorgen and Skyward. Like I did not crock onto that. So
Oh no, like I totally got it there.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
that you will end up together. Like the tropes were there.
see, I get the vibes this time, and also
Yeah.
at this stage. At this stage, it's definitely feeling like we gotta get all the relationships. Like this is why series we must
We gotta
pair
pair them off.
Yeah,
Pair the spares.
yeah. It's like
Yeah,
that's
it's
like a
like-
primary novella objective here. It feels like almost.
Yeah, and that's the issue I have with it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about the UrDail culture and some fun.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, I have UrDail culture out of the wazoo to talk about.
Okay.
So I love. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, let's talk about Tolkien.
I know that was hilarious. It's just like, oh yeah, story about the ring, and just like, oh no.
No, if you haven't noticed this, and I don't look down on people. Some people have not noticed this.
I didn't
There is
notice.
there's a brief passage in ReDawn where Alanik is talking with the humans and how the first human Cytonics and UrDail Cytonics got in contact with each other, and there's a brief throwaway line in which Alanik mentions that there was a human writer or author who essentially got inspired by the UrDail and wrote a story about them, something with a piece of jewelry. She says,
It straight up says ring, actually.
"Oh, does she? Okay,
It does say ring.
and then she moves on and doesn't address that. So
Oh, it's so good.
if you examine the appearance of the UrDail, who are very human-like, except they have pointy ears and they live on trees, with a story about a ring, the one ring, you might say.
Yes.
You quickly arrive at the conclusion that Tolkien was either a Cytonic who had met the UrDail, or he had contact with the UrDail during that period of time.
That
And
was
they
not,
inspired.
that was not the vibe I got.
Okay.
My interpretation of that was that humans in the UrDail had contact in like the distant past. Some parts of that was preserved in like Earth mythology, and Tolkien was like kind of like codified it and just like kept it together and like a came up with like the Elvish language so that like it wouldn't be forgotten.
So just from chats with Jessie, I think the inspiration was a lot more direct.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
It's the same.
Yeah,
What
so
a Jancy.
I know some people like the idea that the UrDail inspired like the idea of the Fae and like that aspect of elves, and then hundreds and thousands of years later, Tolkien was indirectly inspired by them to write his own. But no, it was a lot more direct than that.
Okay, I have not seen those works.
It was just a cool idea that she really liked, and they just went
Love
with
it.
it because it's
I
And I
find it
think-
hilarious.
And I think that makes sense because like he preserved the language pretty, like parts of the language directly, and for that to be carried over hundreds of years would be hard. I think that like the language would be intelligible at that point. So yeah.
But at the same time, Alanik knows Mandarin, and
she
we
does.
are quite far out from Earth from what we're aware, because I think... Did Earth disappear in the Second War? I can't remember.
I don't remember when Old Earth
Yeah.
vanished in the mythology.
Either way,
but
it was a while
vanished.
ago, and
It was a long
like,
time ago. Yeah.
and there was the like they were allies and they weren't allies. Yet she still knows Mandarin
Yeah.
Mhm.
this many years later.
Or at least a little bit of it. I don't think she's like fluent.
Yeah,
she's-
probably not fluent, but enough that she's able to read the signs on the boxes. So I don't think she's like a beginner.
Yeah, she's more fluent in Mandarin than she was in English.
Yeah.
It's like she could
Yeah.
barely speak a conversation in English, but like she can hold conversations in Mandarin.
Yeah. I love the world building of ReDawn. Like I thought it was just really cool, and just it's like, oh yeah, they were allies, so it makes sense that she would, speak an Earth language, Mandarin. Like, oh, nice, cool.
It is interesting that they're still teaching people Earth languages.
Yeah.
Because if they really wanted to distance themselves from like humans, like why are you still learning human languages?
Well, that might more be just like politically, that the political leaders are trying to distance themselves from humans rather than like the actual reality on the ground.
And I could see it as like Mandarin is like a part of UrDail culture now, just as
sure.
Because they
That's what I
had
was
so much,
thinking.
the alliance went on for so long that probably humans in their human empire adopted other languages as well, and it's just part of their culture now. Yeah, so
There's gotta be something like that.
It could also be unity versus independence kind of situation.
Yeah. I did like the politics. Like the politics was interesting in the book. It also helped that we kind of immediately went into the action. It's like, well, they're up to no good.
But I found it quite funny how like the sports teams at the beginnings were aligned with the political parties.
Yeah, that was funny.
Independence was unity. Like,
I like how they had sponsors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, maybe this is more on the tech side of things. There's some comments about Wandering Leaf being the same sort of thing as one of the detritus shells. And Mestiv wanted to say, since Wandering Leaf can hyperjump and we've seen ships connected by light ropes together, it should be possible to connect all the detritus platforms with light ropes and jump, making the detritus installation a machine to fortify or besiege planets at will. That sounds cool.
That is a very cool idea.
It is cool. That seems like a lot.
That needs a lot of slugs.
One slug
We need
to
Yeah.
Well, you'd probably need a lot of them, right?
Need a lot of light lances as well.
Yeah.
Well,
I doubt
not
they
only
have that many.
But because it's what we are looking at is essentially a hard shell. Think of an eggshell, right, around the planet. And if you are hyper jumping the entire thing, the location you're hyper jumping to has to be. So you either need to jump to a planet that is of similar size, right? Because if you try to jump the detritus shell to ReDawn, like you're gonna be in the planet essentially, or you can go to like empty space.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea though, because Wandering Leaf does seem very similar, right?
Yeah.
I do like the idea that Wandering Leaf came from the detritus shell and is maybe a remnant of the old human UrDail relationship alliance, and it was the humans giving the UrDail these platforms that they could use if they needed, and it's just fallen to the point that the UrDail have kind of lost the understanding of how to access them, how to use them. Yeah. But the fact that they're so similar, like not just the insides and the fact that there's a human language on the inside, but the way that the automatic turrets are almost exactly like the ones in the detritus shell. So I've seen people talking about that, and I really like that idea.
And even architecturally, that they are like similar enough.
Personally, I didn't really connect the two. I'm like, they were made during a similar era of like human industry.
Sure,
it makes sense that they're consistent with each other.
Sure,
it's like, if anything, I think the detritus shell is an outgrowth of like these platforms. It's like, okay, like we have one floating platform. Yeah. What if we make enough to surround an entire planet?
Sure. Yeah. That definitely could have gone that way.
I don't think I don't think Wandering Leaf is a missing part of the Detritus shell at all. I think it's like they were built at similar points in time. And
like similar mechanics.
Super original in designs like this. It's like it works.
Well, yeah. But it definitely just seems similarly designed.
Yeah.
So.
There's probably some connection between them, whatever it is. We don't know, but yeah, you're right that it very much could just be that they were manufactured at the same time. They went through the same manufacturing lines.
Yeah.
It's not accidental either way.
Yeah.
And then also with the tech, but also the magic, the intersection of magic and technology, Slugs and the Cytonics, right? Like,
oh my god, Boom Slug being put into that that box and then throwing out mind blades. And I loved how Jorgen had to still interface with Boom Slug to figure out direction and where exactly these mind blades were going, because I've seen people talking about, why don't the superiority seem to use these boom slugs to do this to other planets? And I think it's because you can't scare a slug into directing a mind blade in a very specific direction when it could just direct it back at you because it's terrified
of you.
Yeah. Of you. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Also,
And
Boom Slug saying boom.
Oh yeah.
Is boom. It's like, yeah.
The mind blades that Wandering Leaf shoots are huge, like they're ship-sized basically.
Yeah.
And so they have some sort of amplification technology, I presume is what's happening there in the thing, because why would a single slug be able to... that feels overpowered if a single slug was able to produce such great power.
There's probably something in the boxes in the same way that the hypercom slugs like have the projector thing to help them send the messages. I think I'm remembering Sunreach properly.
I think that's come to all slugs, isn't it?
Okay.
Like that they have the projectors to like.
Well,
they also use
maybe
it to
that's
gather.
just maybe that's just part of the amplifier in that case.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
It does remind me of, like, in Defending Elysium, like there's a much more like technological aspect to Cytonics, in my opinion. The impression I've had since Defending Elysium is that you can interface with technology cytonically in certain ways, which is how in Defending Elysium the FTL communications worked. There was just one guy in that room who was like connecting with the machines and facilitating all the conversations.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
Yes, an individual person can hyperjump and hyperjump with people with them. But in Skyward, when Spencer hyperjumps for the first time, she interfaces with Embot's programming.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, like the hyperdrive is online.
Yeah, that's true.
And he doesn't know why. So it's like, it makes sense that it's not necessarily an amplification. It's like, there is a machine that can shoot out hyperblades. Not hyperblades, mind blades.
Hyperblade sounds awesome, though.
Yes,
that's what they are.
Yeah. So I assume a human cytonic that has a skill for mind blades could also interface with Wandering Leaf.
Yeah, totally.
I can get behind a lot of that. I was never, when I read Skyward, that was the way I read it. And now with a little bit more context from Starsight and the novellas, I wonder if what happened in Skyward when Spencer first hyperjumped was that Doom Slug also found her way to a similar box in there.
I always have hated this idea that because this is one of the things that people are always confused at, like, wait, but I thought Doomslug did the hyper jumping at the end of Skyward, and like that has never been my impression. Like, to the degree that multiple people have gone into the novella channels confused that Cytonics can jump themselves. And like, clearly that's false.
I think it is the case that Spencer did because thinking about the scene from Skyward again, Spencer is clearly like essentially opening her third eye, like she's expanding her cytonic sense, and it is in that moment that Embod goes cytonic hyperdrive online, and she does the thing. So to have Doomslug also like do the thing at the same time, like it's a little too convenient.
I think it's actually described as Spencer was sinking in to Embod as well.
Yeah, it's
like she could feel her mind sinking into him. I think that's how it's described.
Yeah.
I do really want the cytonic processing in general to finally make some sense, because we have all the slug technology now that's like makes sense that they use the biological component to perform stuff or to make stuff happen, but apparently there's as Ian said, some sort of technological way to leverage it, and we haven't explored that at all yet. And apparently none of the because it's not as modern the technology as Embod on these platforms, we don't see any of that there. So where does that come into play?
It might be that the slugs, or if a cytonic is doing it, they're just the power source to produce these effects. And it's like batteries, right? Like you need certain battery sizes for different electronics, like AA's, AAA. And that's almost what this is. Like you need a boom slug battery to power the weapons, or you need a hyper slug battery to power the teleportation.
Or like a catalyst to make it work or something.
I think of them as amplifiers.
Well,
well, the technology is the amplifier of the cytonic thing.
But it's like this connection with technology, I think, is what separates cytonics from like psionics, which is a huge sci-fi trope.
Sure,
like,
right.
But it's like it usually there isn't. It's just a sci-fi trope. There isn't the technology component.
Yeah, and we also see cytonics working together to have bigger effects. So presumably, like with more slugs, you can do a lot more as well. Very similarly to that, right?
Yeah, because we do see the other UrDail cytonics create an inhibitor field. I think they work together to create a massive concussion blast, which
they plan to at least. But they don't succeed at it, I think.
Yeah, there's one thing that they're trying to do, but that's what that's what Skyward Flight is preventing them, because they keep attacking the nodes that each pilot is kind of
right, because they were distracting them. Okay. But that I think is a good segue to talk about concussion blasts, because that is a new ability. That we haven't seen in Defending Elysium, and we haven't seen in the other Cytoverse novels.
I really like concussion blasts, partially because they're new and cool, but also because when they're explained, mind blades also get explained as an alternative and how they are different. And as someone who has not actually read Defending Elysium, I don't know how mind blades work. So I was very pleased to not only now understand concussion bolts, that they have now existed, but also I now know what a mind blade is.
It's a blade that you conjure with your mind.
Yeah, but the idea of a mind blade is like my immediate thought of what it is what a concussion bolt actually is. Like it's something that isn't physical, whereas the concussion bolt attacks you mentally, and that's what I would have thought a mind blade was without this explanation.
Sure, interesting. Okay.
Because it's a mind thing, right?
Yeah,
so
that does make sense.
It's a blade that attacks the mind.
Yeah, that's a very reasonable way to think about that. Yes. It was really nice to see a lot of the cytonic stuff. And obviously we will see more Cytonic stuff in the novella titled Cytonic.
That's a novel.
In the
actually?
novel.
Novel, yes, the novel. Yes, too many novellas.
I mean, the novellas are actually novels too. We're just
yes. What is a
we're
novel?
just ignoring that fact.
What is a novel?
It is nice that the Cytonic powers are also kind of being codified a bit, because they have been very unknown mystical things up till now. So having more of an understanding of like, okay, so we have this power, this power, this power, this power, and they kind of work like this. That is really helpful.
Having a competent Cytonic really helps a lot, whereas the humans is like, we have no idea what we're doing in any way. We're totally fumbling this.
Just listen to the stars and also make some bread.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of the bread.
Speaking of Gran, there is like one thing that we learn about her that Alanik can't explain, is that she apparently can, like Jason in Defending Elysium, can basically see with her Cytonic senses.
Oh, sure, right. Yeah.
That is unknown to Alanik, how she does that. And so that is something that is probably one of the more esoteric applications of Cytonic.
Yeah.
It might be kind of adjacent to communication. So instead of you reaching out like across the stars or whatever and communicating with somebody, you're doing a short range. Okay, you emit, cytonic waves or whatever, like echolocate stuff.
Yeah. We also find out that Gran is much more powerful than she has previously been shown to be. Because, like, before this, it's like, okay, Gran can sometimes talk to Spencer, but it's kind of weak, and she doesn't seem to be able to do much more except kind of see what she's doing. But in this, she's like, yeah, I can totally hyper jump. Yeah, cool. I'll take Cobb. We'll leave, and don't worry about it. I got this. I got this one.
No problem.
Yeah. That is interesting.
I guess I got much more unsure vibes from her when she said, like, I can do this. I've never done it before. But
and it also probably helps that under stressful situations like the end of Skyward, it's like, you can probably manage it a bit easier.
And it's like anybody can do any of the Cytonic things, or any Cytonic can do any of the abilities.
There you go.
but they have important differences.
Yes, indeed.
But they have different strengths. So I don't think hyper jumping is a strength of one Becca Nightshade. But this whole platform is going to explode. Yeah, now's the time to risk that, because
sure.
Gonna try. The other interesting thing with Gran is she was able to hear Cobb at the end, and like I think some other voices as well, which is very weird because Alanik could not hear these.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very weird.
It's interesting that you're really liking how like we're putting all of the Cytonic abilities into boxes. Like, okay, like we're now understanding all of it.
Just like the slugs.
Yes, but we're also getting these weird other abilities that keeps the mysticism of Cytonics
that's alive. A nice balance.
And like, because this is a sci-fi story, like we have to compare it to Star Wars. And because like the Force, we are, because I want to compare it.
Okay.
Like, the Force is like, yes, there are these very discrete like abilities that you can put into boxes, but then there's like the mysticism of the Force.
Sure, right.
And so I like that we're still having mysticism as part of Cytonics, where it's not just like everything can be quantified. It's like
16 medals. Here you go.
And Brandon talked about it back when he did Mistborn, I think, like in one of his lectures, about how one of his things is he creates a system and then he breaks it.
Right. Yeah. So this definitely feels like an intentional breaking of that we will see more of.
Yeah.
I do want to take a moment and appreciate the fact that the way we are breaking the system is still in the Cytoverse is still kind of within the rules that we have established already.
Yeah.
So one thing that bothers me about Star Wars is that while we have very specific abilities such as Force Push, Force Lightning, the less defined abilities are very like extremely vague. Like you get visions of the future and potential futures and things like that. Whereas with these, yes, we have established that we can hyper communicate, hyper jump, hyper inhibit, and a couple of others. And the things that we are discovering in this story are still specific abilities. They feel more like the discovering of a new metal in Mistborn than they feel like an expansion of this, like a qualitative expansion of the system.
Sure.
And I like that.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you want to talk about ReDawn?
When's Evershore coming out?
Evershore is coming out at the end of December.
28th.
Yep. So we will have
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. We will have
New
an
Year.
Evershore episode a bit after, because I imagine a lot of us will be traveling around the holidays, and so that might be a bit tricky. But we'll definitely have an Evershore episode in January. And we also have this other book called Cytonic that's coming out too at the end of November, and so we will get a beefy episode on that. And in our Evershore episode, we'll talk about how all the novellas are as a whole, because these two have gone together really well, I think.
Yep.
I do want to appreciate the plant and tree language and metaphors and idioms of the UrDail. We didn't talk about that, but I loved the many different turns of phrases.
Yeah.
I loved the UrDail in general. I would love to see more. And I loved...
we'll only see Alanik, probably.
I love the Alanik and Arturo interactions, and I hope they get to interact more.
Yep.
And more intimately.
Yes. Same.
In the future.
Agreed.
And also Kimmelin's gifts.
Yes. Kimmelin, please. Please give us Kimmelin.
Yes.
And her girlfriend.
Yes.
Sadie.
Yeah, Sadie. It's going to be Sadie.
Eventually. Awesome. Well, we're going to go into a single Who's That Cytoverse character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Braze.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere character? Caw. So you know how the game's played. You send 5 clues in a character to wtcc at 17shard.com. Actually, it's funny, his Cytoverse character also works with the CC. That's
all of Brandon's connected universes must start with the C.
Yeah. How do we fit Legion Perfect State with a C? And
I never having a WTCC of them.
True. And this first one was actually not sent via email, it was just PM'd to me. Was from the co-president of the Town Fan Club.
Town Fan.
And clue number 1, which I helped suggest for him. This character is not a slug.
Well, that's helpful.
I know, I thought that would be very helpful for you. Because you'd immediately go to slugs, because that's how it was in Sunreach. It was a slug.
Kuna.
It's not Cuna.
Moriamer.
It's not Moriamer.
Quillian.
Rena Kid.
Neither of those.
Okay.
Clue 2. This character is thoughtful.
Arturo.
It's not Arturo.
Ned.
It's not Ned.
Ned is not thoughtful.
Oh, no, I will fight you on this. Ned is super thoughtful because in Skyward, he is able to pick up on the little things that are bothering people. He knows exactly when to go talk to someone when they need someone to talk to them. He knows exactly how to jump in and diffuse situations. Ned is incredibly thoughtful.
Look, he is emotionally intelligent and empathetic. That doesn't make him thoughtful. He has good intuition about people, except Cuna.
And I vaguely remember something about like where Ned says he's like thoughtful, but he says himself he isn't actually thoughtful. But
well, I think he like really plays up the being dumb because that's the character he wants to project to people. But I think that is incredibly
Welcome to
thoughtful.
Nedcast.
I'm gonna guess Becca Nightshade.
It's not Becca Nightshade. Still don't have Spencer's mom.
Ironsides.
No, it's not Ironsides. Marvin, did you guess?
I guess Ned.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I got off a little off track there.
That was a mistake.
Clue 3. This character is disliked by a viewpoint character.
Oh. No, it can't be them.
Cobb.
It's not Cobb.
Jorgen?
It's not Jorgen.
Because I was gonna guess Jorgen.
So also doesn't.
You're
like
welcome. I love how Ironsides still works, even though it's not Ironsides.
It's not Ironsides.
Disliked by one of the viewpoint characters.
Actually, surprisingly narrows it down.
It's not Winzik.
Winzik is disliked by everybody.
I'm going to guess
It's the
it doesn't
most
make
annoying.
any sense, but I can't come up with any other character, so I'm going to guess Hesho.
It's not Hesho.
That does fit any of the clues, but it is not a slug, but yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's true. It's not a slug. It's confirmed.
Yeah.
Confirmed, not a slug.
That's what happens to
slugs.
Oh, I can't make that joke because it doesn't actually work. Never mind.
Yep. Clue 4. This character works for an alien.
Braid.
It's not Braid.
Okay. Braid. I almost guessed Braid last.
Yeah,
too. I'm like,
I also thought about her, but
because like Spencer doesn't dislike Braid. Works for an alien.
I don't remember Starsight.
Is this a Defending Elysium character?
I also thought of that.
I will give you a bonus clue and say it is not a Defending Elysium character.
Okay,
How about that?
because I don't remember anyone's name.
Yeah.
I know one character in that.
Jason Wright.
That is the extent of my knowledge of the games.
Pretty much. Tanasi incident. That's about it. That's my entire Defending Elysium knowledge.
I'm going to guess Zine Nightshade.
Oh, good old chasers.
Because it does work for the aliens, kind of.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of.
Is he employed? No, it's not Z Nightshade. Spencer's dad. Still can't believe that's his name. I can't get over it.
I will rush in and sneak a guess before somebody takes the only other Starsight character whose name I can remember, who's Vapor.
It's not Vapor.
I was trying to remember Vapor's name. I was like,
Rip.
Her species is Figment. What is the Figment's name?
Yeah.
Oh, you can guess Heshu's second in command, whose name I don't remember, and I also don't think anyone disliked her.
I mean, how could you? She's a cinnamon roll of a character. She's just so nice whenever she turns up. Her name's Kaori or Kori.
Kairi? Kairi?
No, I think that's a U.
Kauri.
Oh, Kaori, yeah.
Caitlin?
No. Kimberlin.
He is also a cinnamon roll of a character.
Her name's Karen.
Works for a thoughtful.
Not a slug.
Not a slug.
Not a slug.
Yep. Really not a slug really eliminates a wide range of potential guesses.
Like
here.
half.
Have we had clue 4 yet?
Clue 4 was
That
this
is clue
character
4.
works for an alien
Okay, so thoughtful, disliked, works for an alien.
and not a slug.
Yeah, I'm just kind of skipping that one because I don't need to remember it.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Do you not want to guess Drape? Snuggles?
Happy. No, Boom Slug. Boom.
Boom.
So good.
Oh.
I love that he's got a deeper voice too.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Boom Slug's top tier.
Because like it's one thing to have boom and then
I know.
boom.
I'm going to pass.
Ooh.
I have no thoughts.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Clue 5.
I'm the opposite of this character.
Clue 5. This character is a Varvax.
Mrs. Chamwitz.
It is Mrs. Chamwitz.
Who's that?
He's
Oh,
the
It's the
housekeeper.
housekeeper.
maid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legit, I was thinking. So there was a point where Sansa is being suspicious.
Yeah.
Of her house.
Yeah. That's disliked. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And as I thought of that, I was like, did she actually have a housemaid kind of person?
Yep.
I
Mrs. Chandler.
100% that there was a housemaid.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there totally is. Well, because the thing is that Spencer was super mean to her, even though that she was a super cinnamon roll of a character as well, who was just very thoughtful and just wanted to help out.
Who came and left Spencer food as well and just tried to be understanding, even though she was like, Spencer doesn't like me. And then was like super sad when Spencer bought the cleaning drone. It was like,
she was very sad about that. Yeah, that's true.
I was trying to think through like what characters work for aliens because they're obviously an alien. Oh wait,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't wait for
That's a
us
good
to
clue.
go beyond Delver Flight School and into Varvox High
Flight
School.
School.
in
No.
Defiance.
With the space whales. Come on, the space whales. We already have the
Space whales.
mammoth.
Whales are Kaladin's thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where Kaladin joins the Cytoverse.
but
Go through
what
the
if
negative
Skyward
realm, the
was
fourth
Cosmere?
realm of things. I
Oh,
love that it's
so
called
I
the
forgot-
negative realm, by the way.
Yeah, we didn't
I
talk
wanted to
about
do
it, but I
this.
love the negative realm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to make this
Same.
joke earlier, but all the Cytonic abilities have negative integrity.
Oh, no.
Rather than spiritual integrity. Oh, that's good. Oh, yikes.
Integrity.
Integrity.
Eric, please put us out of our misery.
All right, you can find us on 70show.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. You can join us in Discord, and you can join the ReDawn spoiler channel. Probably by the time you read it, it might be Cytonic channel. But Jancy's around, so you can go tell her what you thought of ReDawn. I thought it was great, and it turned out real good.
5 out of 5.
Yeah. So you can go join our Discord, links in description, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. Put your comments below about what you thought of ReDawn, because not many people watch the Sunreach episode. So if you're watching, make a comment. If you made it here,
Please.
make a
Now I'm
comment.
really curious how many people watched the Sunreach episode.
I wonder if it exceeded Lux.
It hasn't
really?
yet.
I don't think so. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's pretty
That's
sad.
actually regrettable.
Yeah, that is actually sad.
Sunreach is so much better than Lux.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
No. It's 1.9K for Sunreach versus 2K for Lux. So it's
Oh,
getting
we'll
there.
get there.
Like I
Getting a
think
little bit
the further we get through the novellas, more people will go back and like go through the sequence of
Yeah.
novellas,
Yeah.
especially when it comes out in print. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Also,
now
like
it's- yeah.
once Evershow's coming out, it's like that's like 2 months away
And you can read the whole thing.
from Sunreach. So from ReDawn, 3 months away from Sunreach. You gotta get the memory back.
Yeah, right.
And
You can listen to us blab about it.
I can also mention, I guess they're not as our audience, the more casual readers. They don't even know about the novellas. It's like,
Yeah.
how would they?
Yeah. Like people will go find Cytonic when it comes out and be like, what do you
Yeah.
mean there's extra things?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Although they are more advertised on Brandon's socials than anything else.
Well, I mean, it's always new Brandon things. It's like when Lux came out, there was tons of advertising about that. That's like the main reason authors have social media. It's like, I have a new thing out. Please go read it. You know? Where the hell are we in this outro? I don't know. Leave us a review on iTunes or something. I don't know. And we'll
People actually do that.
Yeah, no. There's a bunch of reviews on iTunes. Yeah. There's a ton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
I didn't even know that was a function.
Years ago, like a few years ago, I even read them, and they were all very positive, and I haven't read them since. But if you rate them, I bet it would get recommended more in iTunes. Probably, like you should probably do that.
Bizarre.
Yeah,
Feed that algorithm.
feed the algorithm. It's hungry. It needs to feed on the miasma of the internet. I don't know. Let's get out of here.
Miasma.
See you all next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Caw.